What is going on, everybody? Welcome to yet another episode of The Rose Show. As always, I'm your host, Jay. Who else but me? And today, my guest is Insane Poetry. He's in the motherfucking house. L's up, y'all. I gotta say this right now, and this is no disrespect to any group out there, any label, organization, whatever you want to say. But when it comes to LSP, I got so much love and respect for those guys because of their hustle. I can't even put it into words. Like, these dudes are 24/7 on their grind. Like I said, I'm sure there's a lot of other people out there that are as well. But when it comes to LSP, man, I personally see them out there doing whatever they can to further their brand as much, if not more, than 90% of the labels out there, man. And I love these guys. Obviously, I've had Scum on. If this is your first time tuning into the show, by all means, please go to the catalogs wherever you're watching or listening to this on. I've had on Scum, like I said, Lexa Hexmaster has been on, and I plan on getting way more LSP flavor your way sooner than later. So much respect to everybody over there. And just when it comes to workers, man, that's my thing. And these guys do it more than most. And got a lot of respect for that. But anyway, enough of that. Enough of my babbling. Let's go ahead and get into my interview with the great legend, Insane Poetry, after a word from my sponsor. Let's do it, y'all. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Jay, and I'm here for W Energy, my sponsors. Now, what is W Energy, you might ask? W Energy is clean, jitterless energy. Better than the canned stuff that you would get at your convenience stores, your gas stations, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't have all that trash in it. Now, how do I know? Because I myself use W Energy. So what I've got here, a couple of limited edition flavors. For instance, W Energy puts out this stuff called Grandpa's Ginger Water. I know it don't sound that great, but it is amazing. Limited run that they came out that I've got actually multiple tubs of. I believe in W Energy. I use W Energy myself. Also, this was just released and it's another limited edition flavor that they come out with, and it's called Pom Blom. It's pomegranate blossom. Real nice, clean flavor. And a lot of W Energy, whether it be classics like Calio Cream or the Dub Sludge, whatever it might be, it is clean energy. It's not going to make you feel all crappy at the end of the day after using it. Now, here's what I want you to do, because again, they're obviously a sponsor of mine. But what I want you to do is I want you to go to www.w.gg, order one of the sampler packs, which you get one of these cool tumblers, a part of the sampler pack. And I want you to grab one, but don't use my promo code. That's right. Don't use my promo code Who Else at checkout, because I want you to try it without thinking I'm just trying to sell you a bill of goods. Try it one time, and then when you go back to buy your second order of W Energy, then use my promo code Who Else at checkout for a 10% discount, because all you're going to do is try it. I know you're going to love it. That's how much I believe in this product, and I thank them for sponsoring the show today. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to yet another episode of The Rose Show. As always, I'm your host, Jay, who else but me, and today my guest is somebody who really is a true pioneer in the underground scene. He helped shape the horrorcore movement as a whole. He's known for pushing boundaries with his imagery and his lyrics, and he's built a reputation as one of the most influential voices in the underground, in my opinion anyway, and I'm sure the opinion of many, many others. Everybody I've ever come across has got nothing but good shit to say about this guy, which is honestly pretty rare in the underground. But one of the coolest guys I've met in the game today. We'll get into all that stuff and how I knew him and how we met and all that good stuff a little bit later. But man, to be honest, he is proof that there is longevity in the rap game as long as you're true to yourself, you're true to your art, and you just keep pushing. It is the homie LSP's own Insane Poetry. My man, how are we doing today?
Oh, I'm good, brother. I'm good, man. Monday, fun day. Back to the work, back to work. Watched some football yesterday, but today, just back to it, getting to the new projects and collaborations and stuff like that that I need to get done. I'm working on a single right now. That's what I'm actually doing some mixing for that single prior to this interview.
Hell yeah, I feel it, man. I'm a Titans fan, so football Sunday is drunk Sunday for me at this point in time.
Right.
so I
No,
get
I'm
it,
not.
bro. I get it.
I'm not mad at that. Titans fan. I'm from Tennessee, Chattanooga, Tennessee. Well, I was born in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So yeah, I definitely understand the Titans and all of that right there. Steve McNair and others. There we
That's when
go.
I became a fan. That's when I
Yeah,
became a fan was the McNair era. So that was
McNair
all it
era.
was all
Yeah.
about. Yeah. So one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you today is because, like I said in the intro, you are yourself an underground legend, and I kind of wanted to get your backstory as far as like how you got into hip hop in general, and kind of the road you started taking to put you on the path to becoming one of the underground pioneers.
I mean, I started off. I mean, first time I heard hip hop or the what we would call hip hop uh, back in the day, I was living actually in Tennessee. I was
Mm,
it's funny because I'm from Southern California. Obviously, I was born in Tennessee, but financial difficulties with my parents. My dad worked at General Motors, and General Motors was moving or they're relocated to Detroit, and my mom actually, yeah, they were both going through a little financial despair. So what had happened was my parents decided to take me and my younger brother to my grandmother's house in Tennessee for a year till they got back on their feet financially. So while I spent that year, which would have been my seventh grade year at the time, I got introduced to what's now called hip hop. I had a little surface hearing of what hip hop was at the time. I think the group was Sugar Hill Gang or whatnot, and I liked it. Obviously, I like what they're doing, and I would just mimic every word of each one of the things. But as I think, got a year down in the hole of listening to that, I moved back to Southern California in my eighth grade, it was my eighth grade year that I was in Tennessee, but actually, and I moved to Southern California, a city called Cerritos, California, where I actually started doing research on New York hip hop and realized that the Sugar Hill Gang was not, that was just like the most commercial. It really was a lot more different artists, a smelting pot of different artists. A guy named Busy B, Kumo D back in the day, Treacherous 3. There's a whole bunch of different artists, DJs. It was a whole culture,
mm.
graffiti. I loved all of it.
Brooklyn Bridge, baby, Brooklyn Bridge,
Yeah,
that whole
yeah,
area. Yep.
the whole get down, So I mean, you have so many different like influences from that time. So that's what got me into trying to learn hip hop and wanting to write my own stuff. My grandmother was really supportive of me doing that. So that's what kicked in, man. And from there, just gradually went from my went to high school, listened to a lot of different music, but different styles of music. Actually, I used to be a Kiss fan. Actually, as a matter of fact, Kiss, all the old school metal, rock. Uh, that's what hip hop was. It was a little mixture. Run DMC, they would cut and scratch, big beat, um, and a whole bunch of different records. Even the one that Kid Rock and Run DMC did live on MTV years ago. Those were, records. I mean, like just genres. My mom used to have me up Saturdays and playing all kind of '70s, old school, soul music. So I was
Mm.
always around music. I was always around some style of music, um, which was definitely an influence on what I do now.
Yeah. So with you being a Kiss fan, obviously that would mean like you were kind of into gimmicks anyway. I would assume so. Is that kind of would you attribute that to how you kind of got into the horrorcore genre, or how did you start going into horrorcore?
My mom watched horror movies. It was that. It was just that simple.
Oh,
It wasn't. It wasn't even a genre. It was just something I liked to write about.
how did you make that transition from being just a fan of music to being like, hey, I'm going to do this? And then how did that evolve into the style that you became as Insane Poetry?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's just like you gotta like your voice when you hear it. I mean, I recorded myself.
Right.
That was the key thing right there. It was the first thing that I did is record myself, and I liked the way I sounded. A lot of people said, "Oh, I hated the way I sounded," and I was like, "Nope, I love the way I sound." And no, I'm dead ass. That sounds. It's not
Right.
cocky or anything. It was the
Right.
truth. And
Yeah.
that was a hurdle I never had to deal with, because some artists I've met, they said they never liked the way their voice sounded, or whatever the case may be, and I was the exact opposite. So it was the fuel for me to keep going. I mean, obviously there's way more that kept me, got me, on to doing it heavily. A lot of back then, nobody thought it was even worth even doing. Obviously, it was super young, and people thought it was not the smartest thing to get into. But I'm a rebel, so I did what the fuck I felt like I was born to do, and it evolved. I went through a lot of listening to a lot of different styles of music before, or different artists prior to developing my own style. You mimic others, and then that's just how it works. You create your own stuff from that. I mean, after as time has progressed, I do what I do now on just how of the feeling of the music, and just how the music drives me, or what it creates. Horror just happened to be a one specific topic. I'm not really just a horrorcore artist. A lot of people who actually have done research on me know I'm definitely not just a horrorcore artist. As a matter of fact, I didn't start doing horrorcore really seriously until 1989, 90.
Mm.
So that's that's when I started first. Because before then, I was just rapping to rap.
Yeah. Yeah, and at that time you had, like the Ghetto Boys and shit were doing, they were doing that same similar kind of style, so that makes sense. Now that probably matched up with the same time frame, right?
Well, I mean, I would assume that. Uh, I I I didn't listen to the Ghetto Boys as horrorcore to be truthfully honest.
Yeah.
Um, just keep it real. I didn't. I just thought they were just street dudes that said street shit. Some of it was darker than others, but it wasn't. I wouldn't consider that horrorcore. I mean, like I don't even. I'm not really horrorcore. That title, I existed
Right.
before that title, so it's like
Yeah.
that title goes to the Flatliners and Russell Simmons. He came up with that because it was back then. It was hardcore, and they did more darker stuff. So obviously he had and named them horrorcore. So to me, they're the origins. They're the originators of the term horrorcore. And salute to salute to the Flatliners for sure. Those are my guys right there. But yeah, that's pretty much. You have Brother Lynch Hung, who really he doesn't do horrorcore either. He just did his own brand of his own style, his own brand of things. He comes from a different angle of it, from a gangster edge of it, a lot more darker than what you say a Ghetto Boys would be.
Yeah.
But we all kind of I mean, we didn't like Esham. I hadn't heard of Esham. Esham was doing his shit on in Detroit, but he doesn't do horrorcore either. He had his own brand of what you would call that. I mean, acid rap or
Yeah.
everything. Esham is original shit. So he did his own thing. It's just like same with me. I wasn't really considering what I was doing horrorcore at the time. I was calling it insane poetry. That's what it was for me.
Sure. Is that how you came up with the name Insane Poetry?
I didn't come up with the name. One of the dudes I rest in peace. His name is General Jeff. He was a third person hype man in a West Coast group called Ronnie O and Joe Cooley. and Rodney O is the or the one of he was the main artist. He was the rapper out of it. Joe Cooley was the actual DJ beat maker back then. You had more of a DJ influence and shit at that time. Um, and General Jeff was more like the hype man. But uh, when I met him and I was around him a lot, he would just I'd rhyme all the time, and because I rapped all the time. He just said, "Man, your fucking rhymes are just insane. It's insane." Because I was calling myself just my name's Andrew, so I would go Drew Rock. I was on some b-boy shit, but it was just dark shit. I just didn't name it that. He was like, "Man, your poetry's insane. You should go by Insane Poetry." I'm like, "That's fucking it right there," and I stuck with that.
Yes.
But at the time, I put one of my guys, DJ Streak. He was involved. He was the DJ and my hype man, shall I say, MD. And it went from me being called Insane Poetry to where I included those two guys, and it became a group, Insane Poetry, with me being the lead artist or the lead singer or whatever you want to call it, rapper of that group at that time. But
Yeah.
I was writing and doing that stuff a lot prior to then, but until then, 1992 was the time when I think August 31st, I think, was the time we put out Grim Reality, the first album on Nasty Mix Records on the West Coast, now defunct and all that stuff like that. But yeah, August 31st, I think, of 1992 was the album release of that record.
So when you started to get rolling, and this is always something from a musical standpoint that I've always been interested in asking anybody that's ever made it in the game, was there anything hurdle wise like that you didn't see coming that was going to be hard? 'Cause, like for me,
Well,
being a
I was a kid. Let's be real. I was a kid, man. You didn't think everybody's gonna like your shit, but first of all, the hurdle was rap wasn't big. Let's start there. That was a hurdle and a half.
ah
Then you have your people that's supposed to, you would think support you at that age because you're young. They don't support you. Your family is the last people to support you, if they even do at all, to keep it away, keep it a buck. You know, my parents worked graveyard shift. I couldn't even get them to come to watch me play sports. So for them to support something that didn't have anything with school or anything with going to college and all that stuff like that. They weren't gonna be too supportive of that.
yeah. That's a good point too. I think we forget because the last 30 years rap has been just accepted. Once upon a time, it wasn't at all. Like you didn't hear rap on the radio unless you were in major cities, especially where I live. Like Dayton, it was non-existent. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah,
Like it
it had to be on MTV or some shit like you had to at
yeah.
least be on Rap City. You weren't going to get on there, and that's just, I mean, that shows the persistence of people such as myself and the King Gordys and the Eshams and the Necros and the certain artists and whatever genre you are that's still doing it. And like I'm 58, and I'm still going like even harder than before because I think I'm a lot better than I was. You grow, you get like I always look at it like this, like Michael Jordan was really good at dunking on people. And when he couldn't dunk anymore on people because he was getting beat up, he became more dangerous because he developed that fadeaway. And that's how I look at this. Is like the older I developed a fadeaway instead of being attacking in a certain way. That I can't do that style, that part anymore. So I just developed my own fadeaway.
Yeah, yeah, sure. That's a good way to put it. So was there a certain point in your early stages of your career in the 90s where was there any turning point where you're like, you know what? I know I can do this. Like, cause like you said, the support,
Yeah.
is always difficult for everybody. So what was it you were like, I got this. This is it right here.
Well, I mean, it was. I'm gonna be super real when my buddy Rodney and Joe Cooley actually, I moved in with them. My parents kicked me out, and so I hit them up. They had saw me at a show. Then Joe went back anyway. We DJed for a radio station, and we were both mix masters. So that, I mean, that's a whole entirely different story in itself. But Roddy brought me up and brought me out to his house, and he had a deal with Atlantic Records at the time. Him and Joe, and then that deal went to shit. So they ended up on Nasty Mix Records, and I ended up writing um, a lot of music, writing bars for Rodney, and obviously at the time I wrote a little bit of different style. I was a little bit more intricate, but I had to not say water it down, but he did party music. So I'm not gonna,
Right.
say certain things doing party music. So I had to kind of water what I was writing down for his taste. And one time we were working on a song, and it was called "Get Ready to Roll," and I wrote his I wrote his verse, and then I wrote a verse for General Jeff, and I was in a studio, and I said his verse over the mic, and they were like, "Dude, you need to be on this song." And I was like, if I'm gonna be on the song, let me do my own verse. And so that verse went to Jeff, and then I wrote my own shit, and that shit did really well, man. I mean, hell, man, I ended up doing a summer jam, and that shit was hot on the radio. We was doing 20,000 people there. It was crazy, man. And the reception was great. That was the first time I met Sway, and Sway from KME. He was working at KMEL. I don't know if you know Sway from the Sway.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
Sway and Kick Tech. And so, yeah, man, he was like, man, your song is cracking. It's really going in. I was like, damn, that's crazy. Was getting a lot of love, man. And like I said, man, if it wasn't for Rodney, I wouldn't have been able to have that kind of look. Because other than that, I was just rapping for dudes on the block.
Right.
There was no, you just go home and watch MTV and watch everybody else success and wishing you had, a way in. And even because I DJ before I even let them know I rap, even that wasn't a guarantee that, they was going to fuck with me rapping. Because, obviously they really didn't fuck with me rapping for a while. So it was working with Rodney was getting me in to other things, I kind of just played the hype man role for quite a while, and I wrote here and there, and we go do shows all over because Rodney was big. He was big, from the West Coast all the way down South Texas and all of that shit. He was really, all the way to the East Coast for with the style of music he was doing. Because at one time he was doing music that sounded like Luke Skywalker and all that, like really electronic style of music, but we rap over it. But it was working, and when he left Atlantic Records, and he went to the same label that Sir Mix-a-Lot was on, which is what the label I was on, actually Nasty Mix Records. He changed the whole format of what he was doing and made it more West Coast shit, and that's that's how I got on, man. And the record we did got radio play, and it was crazy. It was really crazy for that time.
Hell yeah. That's very cool. Well, talk us through how you went from that point in your career to eventually getting with LSP, because I think that's, well, I shouldn't say I think. That's where I know you from. It's from the
Right.
LSP, obviously. How did you
Well,
get from where that era to that?
Scum is a fan, so I mean, I wasn't
Mm,
signed to any label at the time. I actually had, I was partnership with JP the Hustler on GRE at the time when I actually Scum was reaching out trying to get me to come to one of his events called Unbound Underground, and he reached out to one of somebody I was under my wing, and he intercepted the message and it was like, hey, if you get an IP, you got to get all of us. And he was like, nah, I just want IP. And so I ended up eventually getting to Scum like that. And me and JP went out there, and he just saw how I got down. And like I said, Scum was actually a fan of mine. So
mm.
I didn't know that. I had never met Scum until that particular year when we did that, which was I would say damn near 20 years ago. So um, he was like, I was like I said, I wasn't really signed to anybody, but at the same time, I had been in the business, I had been in the industry enough to know, hey, let's do this, let's do that. And at the time, I didn't think Scum had the he didn't have his cachet up there at the time to where I was like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go, do an LSP move at that time, particular time. He wasn't even the one that asked me to get on. His other partner McFly is the one that was like, man, you got to come to LSP. You got to come to LSP. And I was like, yeah, I hear you, but it wasn't it wasn't it wasn't the right time at that time. I think it was 5 years later when it truly happened. It was December 10th. Or no, It was December 12th, 2010, when I actually moved out there and did actually joined LSP. What it was is at at the time, Cali's a hard place to get shit cracking in. If you're not on a major label, major, not bullshit. You're not
Right.
looked at the same. I was doing a style of hip hop, you know, that they weren't accustomed. Like Grim Reality, my first album was, a cult classic. It wasn't something you could bump in a hood, and people was gonna fuck with it. There's people in LA that knew about it. There's a homie, I got homies out there that knew about it. But it was something that was like when I sent it to the label Nasty Mix, the album, when it was done, and this is after I stopped fucking with Rodney O and them because it was like I had a chance to do this on my own thing, and I wanted to do something totally to separate myself from all that stuff. And it was like I always wanted to. I had been working on an album called Grim Reality. Anyway, side A would be all the grim, horrible horror shit, and side B would be all the reality that's horror shit. And I wrote about both of them songs. That's what came, what created that album, which a lot of people were like that shit was ahead of its time, and that's why it was hard for the label to know how to market and promote, these records. So I've been through a lot of those kind of trials and tribulations and shit like that. So back to getting with Scum, he had brought me out that year for a festival. It was 12 hours. I was there and he saw me shake every artist's hand that got off stage. Now, mind you, none of these dudes knew who I was. I just did that shit, but Scum knew who I was. So Scum looked at it like, hey man, this dude is fucking cool as fuck. Like he don't have to do this shit. And I did that. And then the guy that went on prior to me from Denver, you might know as Frankie Grudge from BBS.
Frankie.
His mom, his,
Yes.
his mom had passed away that day, and he still came to perform. And it was like 600 people in the building. It was thick, and they all watched his set. And I was going on right after him, which I'd say 95% of the people either left or went and smoked. They didn't know who the hell I was. So
Right.
why would they stay and watch me? So I had about 13, 14 people watching me, but they were all LSP people. And so me and Scum had a song together called Generation X. And right when we performed it, he talked me in, he was like, hey, let's do the song. And when we did the song, our chemistry on stage was so natural. It was crazy. I hadn't had that chemistry with anybody else but one of my homies from Compton, where we had that kind of same. It wasn't even the kind. It's just like it was a synergy. Me and Scum had that same synergy, man. And it was like once I left, he hit me up. He was like, man, I need to bring you out to the next one because, and it was Gorefest, the second Gorefest. And he was like, which would have been my first one. And he was like, bro, you got to come out, man, because it was incredible. He was like, the way you were, I usually don't even bring people back out, unless I like them. He brought me back out. And that whole year, he was pumping my album Faith and Chaos to people. So I had gave him some copies, and he was selling the motherfuckers. And by the time I came out the second time, I had way more people watching my solo set.
Yeah.
So that's how I got into Colorado, and from then, I had been doing shows, uh, Michigan, all this shit. I had Smokehouse Junkies flew me out. This is before LSP. So I already had a little traction. But once I did the thing with Scum, it was like it was destined for us to do this shit. It just took 5 years in the making because Scum's label hadn't even got to where it was getting to. His business partner at the time was brother, you know, Seville hadn't passed away yet. So it was like they were just getting that off the ground, trying to figure that out. And by the time I got there, Dark Half was, was a part of it. Smalls became a part of it, and we all got kind of came in around the same, you know, around the same time, you know. So once I decided to make that move to LSP, I moved away from Southern California at that time, and that was it. I haven't lived in Southern California since December of 2010.
Yeah, was the imagery that LSP, because it is an extreme imagery. I mean, obviously anybody that's a fan knows, and that's the reason why they're a fan is the extreme imagery. Did that
Right?
ever bother you at all, or was that
No,
something that was like kind of
not at
a
all.
glove? Yeah,
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, here's the thing, man. I could rap about 1,000 different things. That don't mean people
right,
gravitate to it. The one thing about being an artist is you gotta find where the attraction is. I could be good at doing R&B or country music, but nobody gives a fuck. It's like I could
right.
talk conscious rap all day.
Yeah,
I could talk gangster shit all day. I've been in the trenches like that. I can talk that shit. But I never talk it in California like that, so I don't feel like I really. If I'm talking from the standpoint of what it is, not that I do this shit because I'm not gonna never spill that kind of energy. But I'm just gonna say this is how this culture is in Southern California, and I can rap about it. But what the problem is, unless you really thorough in the streets like that all the time, or you have the funding or the to push that type of energy, you're not going to get any traction from anywhere. So once did Grim Reality, I already knew I made a pivot from a certain type of scenario. Like this is what I do. This is before Brother Lynch. This is before X Rated. This is right around the time X Rated was around. Probably Andre Nicotina. Probably I hadn't heard of none of these guys until later on. I was just on my own shit. And so at the time, I'm just saying, hey, this is different. Nobody's ever done a record like this. Grim Reality was probably one of the most different records ever, at that particular time. I hadn't heard nothing like that, to a lot longer later, Sticky Fingers from Onyx, he created his album in such a way, and certain people, had done that, but I hadn't heard anybody concept a record like the way I did it on there. And plus, me being in the horror movies from the gate, it was just an easy fit for me to do it with an LSP as well because now I can really do the shit that I really want to do and have a bunch of people who are pretty much, at least not maybe, but I can get to another audience that I wasn't able to reach.
yeah,
You feel what I'm saying? It's like
yeah.
my first album was a record that was I sold 75,000 copies of the record. But that was during the days where people were selling 500,000, a million records, so
Right.
it's there's levels to the shit. So and I took that as the hunger, man. It's like I never blew up. I never got none of that. I always wanted to be on Def Jam. You know what I'm saying? I always wanted to be on Def Jam. So, and I never got that look. And I'm happy about it now. I found my own Def Jam, which is LSP to me. So there it is. But that's a little bit of the history.
Yeah. The first time I ever met you, and this is something I don't talk about much on this platform because it never really comes up, but I was a promoter out of Dayton. And in 2016, I had met Scum, I think in 2015. I booked Twisted on the Welcome to the Underground tour, and Scum
Right.
was on that tour. That was the first time I met him, and we exchanged information because I was just so impressed. Like I had seen LSP, the imagery I was talking about, and when I saw Scum roll up, I was kind of like, oh, fuck, here we go. Because you just never know. Like, some people, like, the art is reality to them. So I
Right.
didn't know, I didn't know anything about Scum. I knew very little about LSP at that time because I was not new to the scene, but new to just the LSP brand. And when I
Right.
met him, he was mad. He was mad fucking cool. I could not get over how fucking cool this guy was. So
Yeah.
we ended up exchanging contact information. I was like, I'd love to bring you guys to date next time you do a tour. And he brought up that he was planning on doing a tour later, which ended up becoming the MMMFD's the unsub tour in 2016.
Oh
And
yeah. That was one of
I
my favorite.
booked,
That's still to this day my favorite tour.
dude. It was so here's one of the reasons why I've got so much respect for all you guys. I did book that tour at a place I had never booked before. It was called Taffy's in Eaton, Ohio. And a mutual friend of mine got me in contact with this place. Now, when I walked into this place, it was set up to be a coffee shop, but they also do concerts there. And I set up this whole deal with this guy, and he goes, "Oh, yeah, we're going to move all this coffee shop stuff out of the way. We're going to have a sound system ready for you guys. We're good to go." This motherfucker who owned this shop did none of that. So come
Now,
day of the show,
I think I remember that now because I would be honest with you. That was when Knox was before he,
yeah,
before Knox was he was on that show before he was with LLE or before he was with
yep,
AXE. Yeah.
yep, that was that show, yeah. And it was one of the most chaotic fucking shows I've ever thrown in my life because this guy just did not hold down his end of the bargain. But you guys were such pros. And I was so impressed with how you guys kind of walked in. I think Murph, yeah, Murph was there too. Murph
Yeah,
walks in.
Murph was driving for us at the time.
Yeah. Murph walked into the venue, took a couple look around and goes, "What is this?" And I was like, "I know, I apologize. This was all supposed to be taken down. They didn't do anything. He didn't provide a sound system. He didn't do anything." But y'all, that evening ended up becoming one of my favorite shows ever because A, your professionalism, B, everybody looked at the situation and knew it was shitty, but y'all still killed it. And when it comes to you specifically, I remember somebody came from like Indiana or something and they had one of your cassettes. And I think it was Grim Reality from like the very first release and had you
No, it
sign
was.
it.
Hmm.
Yeah, well, okay, so it was, yeah. And God, I can't believe I remember that shit. It was almost 10 years ago. But that I still remember that just because of the simple fact of like I was so impressed by all you guys and the fact that I'm like, okay, this guy's got a following. There's somebody who came all the way from fucking Indiana just to get you to sign this album and shit. And I got to tell you, man, y'all are some of my favorite group of people that I've met in this game to this day. And I think you guys get kind of overlooked because of the imagery. But anybody I think that's been around any of y'all for 5 seconds understands like just how pros you guys are. Was it like that for you from day one? Like, were you guys always like that tight knit of a team, or was that something that you guys built over time?
I mean, it Scum is the general, so you follow suit. You follow it.
Yeah.
He just made he's like you said, man. He's a different breed of a person. Just in general.
Yeah.
Um, I believe that we do have a ragtag crew, but we have a loyal, ones that are really close, are really loyal to each other. It's a brotherhood, which you won't find on labels at all. There's no such thing as that. So that's what makes us different. Obviously from we we're we're in tune with the fans because we're there with the fans. It's not the most smartest thing to do. I always tell people, if you're an artist, back then it might not. Now you need to be in touch with the fans because the labels aren't doing it's not the same thing anymore. We're in a new era. But then it would be a little we got looked at as amateurs for doing that. You should have anonymity, and I get it. It's the superstar vibe of it, but when you got what's called pushback, that the thing about it is, man, you can have everything going good your way, but people who might be threatened by what you do will try to block, block opportunities.
Right.
It's happened to us a lot, so
Yeah.
we've had to take it on the chin and come back on stronger and keep coming back stronger. And what it is it got to a point where we had a lot of fans that were upset that we weren't in certain opportunities, certain gatherings, and they voiced how they felt about it when we weren't there, and those things that had to, you know, people were like they're building up some shit, like it was
Right.
great. It was great when we're the hometown favorites in Denver, but once you start expanding and all that stuff like that, there becomes there's a a sort of uh with people you thought were had your were supportive.
Yeah.
You find out that's just only a facade, because if they can't get on, they're not trying to, support you or anything like that. So I find that your hometown, the bigger you get, the worse it becomes, you know, because you're expanded, and it takes a lot of hard work and sacrifice. Everybody says dedication. I say sacrifice, because you're sacrificing something. There's no question
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. Hey, I get that, dude. There's a festival here where I live called Miami Valley Music Fest, and they would never book Menace to Sobriety to be on it, even though we were one of the biggest groups to come out of this area, just because of the simple fact that, oh well, they think they're bigger than what they really are, and it's like we ain't never said we were shit. Like we go out there and we do our thing, and so I'm sorry you're upset that we do our shit. So I totally get that. Yeah. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, unfortunately, that comes with this lifestyle. Is not everybody wants an opportunity you have, or think, why did that person get that opportunity? We're better and we should have that opportunity. That's unfortunately that's just what it is. But you gotta, once you get your feet wet, or you get in it, you either go balls out and be a good person, because I mean, at the end of the day, people remember good people. We sell merchandise. I mean, we sell the product as our music, but our music is can be free. So it's got to be more than just music when you're dealing with the fan base we have. Yeah, they want to feel like they're part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, like I said, man, I respect the fuck out of each and every one of y'all. The hustle that y'all and the dedication y'all show was just it's next level. You've always been nothing but professional to me, or nothing but cool as fuck to me every time I've been around you guys, man, and that's rare to find. So, like I said, much respect to y'all. L's up for sure, man. Y'all should be getting way more opportunities, like you said. Certain gathering events, I don't know why you're not included, but hey, we'll leave it that as that. But
I'm gonna be
whatever.
honest with you. I'm gonna be honest with you. It ain't just us. That I mean, when okay, we did 2024 gathering, but we've always felt like they they don't put the same artists on every year. And to be honest, when you start going back and watching their shit in the last 4 or 5 years, they don't put the same artists on every year. And so they rotate. And so I'm not gonna shit on them for that. I mean, that's I can't. They're giving us opportunities, and I'm not mad at it. So I appreciate what they have given us over the years. You know what I'm saying? That's
Fair.
again, you kind of have to see it from how I look at it. Is like some artists that want to be on a label, and like some guys are like this, man. They'll sell you on the interview. They want the job, and then they show up to the first day of the job late. You know, it's like you don't your job didn't even start until when you got the deal to get signed. That's when the job started. They always
Yeah.
believe that the label's supposed to do everything for them. That's not the case. And artists are finding out right now, and they're wondering, why is this guy getting more love than me, and he's not even a better artist than me? Well, he's a better hustler. He's not scared to put himself in the face of people. This is one of those things where either you got to figure out how to make records that can go viral, and you still got to figure out how to make that work with how they use this algorithm thing now. You know, it isn't if you don't get out and see people, put yourself in their face, they can feel and touch your aura and get on with it. They're not going to invest in you.
Yeah.
And now
Right.
at this time, the way the environment is now, it really is like that in the music, and any like the underground is crazy. Like everybody got this weird ass ego, like you're supposed to, suck them off. I'm like, bro, me and Scum don't even ask for that shit. We don't have people lined up around the corner of our building or any building waiting to come see us like that. So we don't feel like we should have that kind of entitlement.
Right.
So if we don't
Right.
feel like that, imagine me seeing some local artists. And I hate on them. Not so it's just there's just some. Every city has one or two local artists that ego tells them they should have the same things. And I'm like, bro, listen, how can you ask me or say, man, bring me on tour with you, pay me $50 a show? I'm like, why would I pay you?
Right.
I'm like, it comes out of my own pocket. You know what I'm saying? Why would I pay you? Nobody. We're getting paid because we have a demand for us. They don't have a
Right.
demand for you. Because if they had a demand for you, you would go there yourself.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and what we do is give people an opportunity. The opportunity means you're gonna spend a lot less riding with us on a tour than if you did that same tour by yourself. Because one, you got to think about the gas, hotel expenses. You're not even talking about eating and all of that other stuff. So we got to pay for the driver. We got to pay for the rental of the. We have to all the money that we give that goes into the expenses. I mean, and Scum get a little bit out of that, on a nightly basis, but we're being paid to come perform. They want us to do that. We're not
Right.
saying you should bring us on tour, because here's the thing: unless you're a commodity, you have some cachet, or you create asses in a seat. we you put asses in the building. There's no way in the world it's a benefit for me to pay you.
Yeah.
And that's where I think some artists get it wrong. A lot of artists understand that. They like, oh man, I know. I mean, it would cost me this much if I wrote with you. It would be this much, and I'm able to get into these markets that they would have never been able to get into.
Right.
So
Yep.
so that, and then like again, it's not a shade. It's a gem. And that's it. I'm just dropping a gem. You want to. First of all, a lot of local artists aren't even big in their own state, and it's hard to be big in your own state because your own state is gonna hate on you more because you're from that state.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely true. And I get that from from the perspective of a promoter too.
Oh
I
yeah,
get people all the time. Why do I got to sell tickets? Well, why wouldn't you have to sell tickets? Nobody's coming here to see you. They're coming here to see the
nobody's
people
coming to
on it,
see you. You have to sell tickets, bro. What you're hoping
Right.
for is you can steal some of that person you selling tickets for as fans.
Yeah. And that's not
That's
a
what
knock.
it
Like you
is.
said, that's business. That's called business. That's not a
That's just
knock.
what it is.
That's
Well, that's the
business.
that's the that's usually the first thing that a young art. I'm not talking about a season. A seasoned artist already
Right.
knows it's business. A young artist or a novice amateur artist, not saying they're amateur, they're rapping. I'm just saying they're amateur in business mind. They
Yeah.
think it's about the music, and it
Right.
really isn't. That's last in all this shit.
Yep. Yep. I tell
I,
everybody.
I was them too, but I did it in a different way. You know what I'm saying? I I I used to just rap bars and bars and bars, and then getting around Rodney and Joe Cooley back in the day, they showed me how to make songs. That
Yeah.
because here's the thing: is the playback factor. Yeah, you can rap, but I'm not a then either you're gonna be a battle rapper, and that wasn't even that type of thing at that time. So it's like you're trying to get on a record, you need to learn how to make song structure and all that. I was taught by some really good songwriters. They didn't have to be the best lyricists, or that, but they taught me how to write songs.
Yeah. I tell everybody music is this way. You work 23 hours and 40 minutes to get to a 20-minute set. That's
Right.
exactly how it is. Everybody thinks music is just, oh, you just perform, perform, perform. No, 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 no. That's not how that shit works at all. Yeah, it's a completely different aspect for sure.
Well, and,
Absolutely.
and another thing, man, it is like you see people's dedication. Some people actually, the worst thing that can happen to an artist right away is blowing up right away or getting a song that goes viral because then you're under the facade that that's going to last a lifetime. Oh yeah,
Right.
I lived in that. Shit. I was on radio with a record and think, hey, 2 years from now I'm still gonna be cooking. Nope, wrong. You know,
Yep.
hey, it's a lot of man, timing, people you work with. It's a lot of different shit that goes in with that, man. It's like, for me and Scum to do Triple MFD and to get to the gathering last year and finally get the main stage as Triple MFD, and not just the main stage. We were right before Esham, and we have like, I don't know, about 5,000, maybe 7,500 people watching our set, And I've seen some bigger artists get shit thrown at them. They ain't throw nothing but glow sticks at us for a whole half hour because we was murdering shit.
Right.
They
Right.
hadn't seen that shit. They hadn't seen that type of shit before. Like they see us here and there, but in that mass, they hadn't seen it like that. And I was like, hey man, we're mic checking earlier that day, like 10 in the morning. And I was like, I'm like, bro, we finna kill this shit, bro. I could tell. I could just see the energy. And as soon as we start coming out at that night and hit the stage, man, it was I already knew. It was like you gave us the ball on the foot. You gave us the football on the goal line. You think we ain't gonna score? We've been waiting 11 years to put it in the end zone. We've always we already in practice celebration moves in that bitch. So
I
it's like
feel it, man.
it wasn't something that like I said I had done with Rodney O and them, like 20,000, man, where people look like ants, and we had a record on the radio. So it was to me, that the gathering, I wasn't as, like, oh my God, like everybody believes that's the end all be all to their career. And I'm like, bro, no, man, that's not.
Right.
It's just a goal. It's a goal you check off. You got to start thinking of leveling up and how you're going to level up, or how you're going to, every year you should, like anybody in business is already planning what the next year is. You're going to take, you know, each quarter and see how'd you fare last year at this time? What was your numbers last year? What do we do? What did I do this year better than I did last year? Or what didn't I do this year? And why was there a drop off? If you really trying to figure out your business, because it is a business. It's the business of
Yeah.
music.
Yep.
The
For
sooner
sure.
you
Well,
get
you
that shit.
guys.
Oh no, I was gonna say the sooner that the young artists get that prospect now, the better they'll be. Because because you can rap. And nowadays everybody can rap.
Right. Right. For sure. For sure. Well, y'all do it to a T. Like I said, got a lot of respect for y'all. Y'all have built something and you made it your own, and that's hard to do no matter what scene you're in, man. So much
No,
respect
no
for y'all.
question, no question.
Yeah, for sure. And I do appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today.
Yes, sir, man.
You've been somebody that has been on my list to talk to for a while. So the fact we were able to make this happen, man, I respect the fact you were willing to give me some of your time. I appreciate it. And as we wrap up here, I always give the last couple of minutes to my guests. Anything you want to plug, social media, anything like
Yes,
that,
sir.
man? Floor is
Let's
yours.
do this. Okay, right now, one of my guys from the Czech Republic and my guy from Toronto, Real Wolf, we just dropped a single with my boy Resnick from Czech Republic. Resnick is huge out there. I got a single with him called Hearts of Malice. We already have, since YouTube does this funny ass algorithm things, it's hard to get like real numbers, but in what 7 days, maybe 9 days, we're at 40K right now, 40,000 views, and it's still pushing like 1,000 a day, man. So I'm like really excited about that. It's out right now. Big shout out to my man Gibby Stipes. We got a single out, me, Scum, and him, called Spirals. That's just dropped actually last week. Um, did a big shout out to my boy Light. Uh, all my label mates, my boy Lex the Hex Master, that's my dog right there. King Gordy, that's my dog right there. Um, I'm working on right now my new album. I won't say the name of it because it's very like I don't want to say it, because once the artwork start coming out, you'll get it. It's gonna be a little bit very, very dark, but very real and very dark. It's gonna be violent art. I dropped a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago. I think one of my best records I've done in my whole career. Consistently, records just top to bottom, dope ass records. You know, the new album me and Scum got out right now, Horrorcore by Triple MFD. One of, I think, our best album we dropped. Bangers on that one. The work is great. I mix and I record at home. So I'm working on. Oh shit! Uh, Big shout out to my man Danny motherfucking Diablo, New York Hardcore. That's my bro, my man Tony Slippers. Me and Danny, we got a. I'm in a big ass Wu Tang type of group with him, Chucky Chuck. It's called Supreme Force Syndicate. We just dropped the album that just came out probably about 3-4 months ago. So Be on the lookout for that. Video for that too, called Superfly. A lot of things. Just check me out on Instagram, The Real Insane Poetry. I don't fuck around with Facebook at all. Not even about that life. It's about everybody and and depression and everything. I don't fuck with Facebook at all. Twitter, Insane Poetry, or whatever X they call it now. That's pretty much where you can find me. My Patreon. You can subscribe patreon.com/insane poetry, and I do some. I say a lot of things that go on that I won't put online or anything like that. Some of my views, whether it's music related, news related. I don't do political or religious things like that. That's a death knell for what I say for an artist, unless that's what they do. I that's not my thing. So I don't, my opinions. I leave that opinions to my Patreon, but in music, I won't. It's it's a slippery slope right now. So if you want to, everybody's getting. If Jimmy Kimmel is getting fucking canceled, you need to watch what you say with this so-called freedom of speech.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Hey, man, thank you so much, man. I appreciate the
Hey,
time. Seriously, thank you.
thank you, bro. Thank you, bro. You take care, man.